Tonight's guest is Officer Robby Raines and guest co-host Carl Sugg.
Looking back on the life that you're leaving, let it rest in a hole in the ground. Stick around for the great revealing, or the fire you've been dancing around. All we hear is the sound of retreating. No one cares where you're coming from. My ears are still ringing and beating. I guess we all knew from the start. These are the days my heart goes numb. You know, one of these days will be the one. We're looking for answers. Oh, what a disaster. These are the days my heart goes numb. My heart goes numb. Breathing the fumes of the ashes, the spirits light up the night, looking down the edge of
We're live from the Untold Radio Network. It's Untold Radio AM with Monster Quest producer, host Doug Hajicek, and co-host Jeff Perrella Jr. Untold Radio AM is going live right now.
This show is for entertainment purposes only. Yep, that's the ticket. Now here are your Untold Radio AM hosts, Doug Hajicek and Jeff Perrella Jr.
Hello, Jeff. Hello, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Sorry we're late. I've been battling computer problems.
Nonstop.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous.
And, it went even got better. I got into my studio. Even the lights wouldn't work right. So
Crazy.
I was just like, really? Is there an electrical issue with me?
You live in the twilight zone, that's all.
Oh my God. Yeah, we were having it last night. We're trying to watch TV and the TV kept shutting off. We're
Weird.
like, well, what is going on?
You
And
always
then it
have
would come back
electrical
on. Then
problems.
we'd turn it back on. And it would come on without volume. So you're like, okay, they need to unplug it, reset it. So it's just been nonstop
Never-ending.
technical since last Sunday, actually.
Yeah.
Even when I went to send some notes to you, I get a message, and I sent it to you. Strangest message ever from Microsoft.
Yeah.
It says, and this is God's truth. It says, you have changed. What does it say? Like I sent it to
Something
you.
you've changed the
You've
message.
changed
Yeah.
your email. And then it's got an okay. Like, of course I've changed my email. I wrote in it. What does it say, Jeff?
You sent me a screen cap here. What the
I
heck
know.
does it say?
It's like the weirdest message. It means
Yeah.
nothing.
The operation cannot be performed because the message has been changed. What the hell does that mean?
Yeah, exactly. The message has been changed. Well, that's what all messages are.
Yeah.
Anyhow, hello, fellow Untoldians.
Hey.
We are here. We're gonna have a great show.
Yeah.
Bad beginnings always mean a good ending. That I do know. You gotta pay your dues. This live YouTube stuff is difficult. It can be.
Yep.
Sometimes it goes smooth as silk, right? We'll have like 10 shows that's smooth as silk. And then
Yeah,
all of a
live is always an adventure. I used to do TV news live. That was an adventure. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
nothing like it. It's kind of a unique form of stress. It's live without a net.
It is. I remember I used to go to KSTP, and I had friends over there at the news, and the countdown clock would be ticking, and we'd always be playing practical jokes on the
Oh, yeah.
newscasters right before they went on the air,
Absolutely. I remember
like
doing that
right
too.
before. It was just torture on them. So we would, anyhow, okay. So anyhow, what do we got going on here? We have, well, first off, Couple of things. This is your home for unverified crap. We do know that.
It is.
Right. And we do have a great guest who is verified. He is Officer Robby Raines.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a guest host, Carl Supp, and you can bring Carl up right now.
All right. Welcome, Carl.
Carl is going to help us co-host.
Good to see you, Carl.
Good to see you.
Oh, geez.
Good to see you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, you almost had to replace me tonight.
Almost.
I made it. Anyhow, so Carl's going to help us out. But we've got Officer Robby Raines on, and we will step into the shadows, obviously, with a man who spent decades, literally decades, chasing what most police officers and people won't even talk about, let alone a police officer. So he's a veteran police officer, trained tracker. He's an author of, 10 books?
Oh, a lot. Yeah, he sent me the book covers. It's quite a few.
10?
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, yeah.
So we're going to definitely want to stand by Officer Raines tonight. Also, we have a bevy of other interesting and chilling content today.
Bevy?
A bevy.
We don't have a bevy very often. That's pretty cool.
No, we don't. It's a bevy tonight.
A bevy. A bevy of unverified crap.
I knew you were going to latch right onto that word. I just knew it. It's like I latch onto some of your words. Octopi.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Words are fun.
Yeah, they are. So, yeah, but you're going to want to start putting the lights down a little lower, right? Get your comfy chair. Remove the dog from the comfy chair. Put him back on your lap. Get a cold beverage, unlike Jeff. Don't want to get Jeff's cold beverage. I don't have any beverage. I only have water.
That's all I got.
Water. I didn't even grab a root beer.
That's all I ever have, except for one time.
I'm even out of root beer. But I do want to go over a couple things. One, the New York Bigfoot Conference is October 2nd and then October 3rd.
Mm-hmm. You
can go get your tickets for that. They're available right now. Go to, I remember the website. It's just NewYorkBigfootConference.com. And I believe you can just New York Bigfoot Conference and find them on Facebook too. And there'll be links to Ticketmaster so you can get your tickets.
Yep, NY Bigfoot Conference.
And I bring that up as I will be speaking there.
Oh, you're going this time. Nice.
Yeah, I'll be speaking there.
Awesome.
Yeah. Along with, let me think here, Maria Mayer. I know Adam Davis is going to be around. Steve Coles is going to be one of the MCs for the panel. God, why is it I cannot think of any of the things or any of the speakers that are going to be there? Can't think of it.
Me neither.
Lauren Coleman.
Oh, nice.
Anyhow, whatever. Just go to the website and look at it. I'm too wiped. And we've got our weird and fast news. We've got a real quick tech breakdown tonight. That's kind of cool. And we've got clips, and if we have time, we even got a little bit of trivia.
Yeah.
But let's get on with the show.
Time for some news. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
It's time for weird and fast news. Yeah! It's time for weird and fast news.
Alrighty.
First off, apparently giant squid have been detected off Australia coast. Apparently for the first, why it says this, I don't know. It says the first time in 25 years. Did they have them there before? I never heard about that.
And you happen to know a little bit about
I know a little bit about that, yeah. And I never read there were any giant squid in Australia. Scientists exploring deep underwater canyons of Western Australia found environmental DNA, eDNA, evidence of a massive giant squid lurking thousands of feet below the surface. The legendary creature can grow over 40 feet long with eyes the size of pizzas. And the one that we filmed had 1.5 foot wide eyes.
Oh, that's crazy.
That's about the size of a pizza, isn't it, Jeff?
Small pizza,
large?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, at least.
Sure.
It says this creature is so elusive that live sightings are almost non-existent.
Almost.
I think they're totally non-existent, live sightings.
Mhm.
Researchers say the deep sea still contains countless unknown species. So there you go. And then I like this next one. AI, it says secretly found why it says secretly once again, over 100 hidden planets. Now, why is it secretly? I'm talking about it.
It's not a very good secret.
It's not a very good secret. It says researchers using advanced. I thought all AI was advanced.
You'd think so.
Yeah. And I don't even want to know what advanced AI systems are. Advanced AI systems discovered more than 100 previously hidden planets buried inside old NASA telescope data.
Mm-hmm.
Some are bizarre, ultra-short period worlds orbiting dangerously close to other stars. Scientists say the discovery proves AI is becoming one of astronomy's most powerful new tools that could, that could dramatically speed up future discoveries.
Well, it excels at processing lots of data. That's really what astronomy is, just lots and lots and lots of data to go through.
Yeah, it's actually amazing. Carl, do you use AI much?
Software. Well, we're starting to really for supply chain things in order to get a little smarter and trying to figure out where the best parts go and where, when, and where.
But is anybody using it for software development? I know you're involved.
Yes, actually. So it's doing a lot of the what I would say grunt work in coding, and that really certainly assists, but you still need to have that human intervention to make sure that it's not hallucinating, right?
Well,
so that's the way to go.
Yeah, I think my computer I think somebody updated the Microsoft software. That's why my computer was sending me completely nonsense messages.
Weird.
It's just, I'm sure that had something to do with some of these companies incorporating updates and using AI, and I think there's just tons of bugs.
I think you're right.
And speaking of bugs, scientists discover insect that changes, listen to this, from hot pink to green. It says researchers discovered a tropical katydid that starts life pink before slowly transforming into a green over a few weeks. Sounds like me. Scientists believe the strange color shift helps the insect mimic rainforest leaves. Yeah, I wouldn't think hot pink would be a great disguise in a rainforest.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, so it mimics rainforest leaves. Interesting. And then we have, obviously, during the last, I think it was right when we came on, they had done a massive UFO file release. Mm-hmm. And some people are really into it and some aren't. But unless you actually go to the .gov and read the documents, you're probably not going to be so wowed with the video.
There isn't like any real smoking gun, and it's not really anything that hasn't been
we need
before.
up close. We need the up close stuff, like a guy walking around giving us a tour.
That's right.
I could just see Carl there with a camera walking around a UFO going, now look at this baby. It's got bucket seats.
Right.
I want to see the bucket seats. Okay. It says thousands of pages of newly released UFO related government documents were dumped online this week, reigniting debate about unexplained aerial phenomena. Researchers estimate the archives now contain tens of thousands of pages of military reports, radar logs, pilot testimony, and intelligence summaries accumulated over decades, while most experts say there is no smoking gun. Like Jeff just said, many believe the real story is the government's growing willingness to publicly acknowledge uncertainty surrounding unexplained encounters. Well, the only way they're going to really, I think, satisfy anybody is just dump it all, dump everything, because if you're holding back anything, that's what we want to know.
We'll sort it out. We'll sort it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Just give it to us.
I think we can all handle it. Yeah, there'll be more debates. It'll last a good 2 weeks. People will be fighting online, and it'll die out. That'll be the end of it. Life will go on. Our bills will come in. We'll still pay taxes. Still have to fill our cars up with gas. It ain't going to change nothing.
Yep.
And then there is a new evidence that suggests the ancient Maya civilizations transported live dogs across huge distances hundreds of years ago.
Wow, that's cool.
Now, when did the Maya civilization die out, Jeff? I thought it was a little longer than hundreds of years ago.
Like 16th century, 17th, like 16th century.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, over 2,000 years ago. No?
Yeah, I was going to say, no, with Balboa, and it was probably the mid, there was probably still pockets, but probably mid 1500s.
Yeah.
Okay.
16th century, 1500s, yeah.
Yeah, it says dogs were traded much like livestock or valuable goods between major cities. Researchers believe the dogs likely served ceremonial, cultural, and practical purposes. Now, one thing I did notice that all the dogs that they talked about were short-legged dogs, and they're usually used for hunting, small game. Just like the beagle. They can get in fox burrows and rabbit burrows and that kind of thing.
That's what dachshunds are bred for. Yeah,
so you would
small tunnels and stuff.
Yeah. I don't think they were just there. I don't think they were showing dogs and dog show and giving ribbons.
Probably not, but they probably figured out how to breed them and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Then we have next is hidden voids found inside the Egyptian pyramid. They keep finding new things, right?
Mm-hmm.
With all these new advances in LiDAR. And you kind of think the government probably knew a lot of this a long, long, long time ago. But now private researchers are using new radar and ultrasonic scans, reportedly detected hidden empty chambers beneath parts of the pyramid in Menkaure in Egypt. Researchers say the voids may support old theories that unknown chambers or structural mysteries remain hidden inside the ancient pyramids.
Yeah. There's almost certainly more stuff going on there than we've ever seen.
Yeah. It says archaeologists are now debating what might still be buried underneath. Hopefully it's gold, just gold. Piles of gold.
Could be technology, who knows?
Yeah, you never know. Sure. And then Earth's oldest animal. Researchers studying ancient Canadian rocks believe they may have found traces of animal life dating back nearly 890 million years, far older than previously believed possible. If confirmed, the discovery could rewrite the timeline for when an animal life first appeared on Earth. And looks kind of ugly. I don't think it was very big.
No, I'm sure it was
these were
tiny.
Tiny fossils that they found of some primitive animals.
Wow.
And then plants scream when stressed, just like people. Researchers studying plants discovered that certain species emit tiny ultrasonic popping sounds when under stress from drought, damage, or lack of water. The sounds are too high-pitched for humans to hear naturally, but sensitive microphones captured what scientists describe as clicking or crackling noises. Now, don't confuse this as when they put the electrodes into plants. This is actually sound that they're actually picking up with microphones.
Yeah.
So that's totally different than what you may have heard in the past, that stuff's interesting, but I don't, to me, that could be affected by, just the radio waves in the air.
Sure.
Some researchers now believe nearby insects and even other plants may react to these hidden distress signals.
Yep.
So if you walk in the room and you hear your house plant screaming, you'll know where that voice is coming from.
Give it some love.
Yeah, give it some water.
Yeah.
And then we're done with the news, and then our untold weird fact of the week.
Here we go.
It's now time for Untold Radio Weird Fact of the Week. That is kind of weird.
Our bumper is weird. All right.
This is pretty wild, the story.
Yeah, it is. It's like this guy was not his time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, so what happened to my notes are gone. Do you have the notes on those?
Just on the
there
picture.
it is. Never mind. I've got it. I doubled up on my photos. So tonight's weird fact sounds literally impossible, but it's absolutely true. A Japanese engineer named Jeff, it's your turn. Is it Yamagachi or Yamaguchi his last name?
Sotumo?
Sotumo. That sounds perfect. Sotumo Yamagachi is the only officially recognized man to have survived both atomic bomb blasts in World War II.
It's incredible.
On August 6, 1945, Yamaguchi was in Hiroshima on a business trip when the first atomic bomb exploded. I thought I was having a bad day. Less than 2 miles away. Okay, so he was burned and injured. He somehow survived the devastation and boarded a train back home to Nagasaki. Not the place to go. 3 days later, while describing the horror of Hiroshima to his boss, the second atomic bomb detonated over Nagasaki, and somehow he survived again. Out of the 2 cities destroyed by nuclear weapons, one man lived through both. So, and I just, I think these are interesting. I literally in the 80s, through Larry the Axe Henning, I was business partners with his son, Kurt Henning, Mr. Perfect, known as. Mm-hmm. But Larry, he was kind of roping me into doing some of these promos for charity work. Mm-hmm. So I was doing charity work, and he was working on a charity thing. And he grabs him and he goes, "Talk to this guy. He's the guy that piloted the Enola Gay." Wow. And I'm like, oh, God. Okay. So I kind of reluctantly grabbed the phone and ended up talking to Paul Tibbets, the guy that dropped the bomb on Hiroshima. Yeah.
I just saw the Enola Gay a couple of years ago at DC. It's pretty cool.
So would you want to talk to the guy that dropped the Hiroshima bomb there?
Heck yeah.
You would?
Absolutely.
Oh, I thought, absolutely. Man, I'm a history buff. And
yeah, for sure.
I thought this could be some bad karma coming my way.
Yeah, I even have a story with my brother-in-law's grandfather actually loaded the Enola Gay that day.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, there we go. We're connected again, Carl.
I always have some aspect.
That's crazy.
We always, me and Carl are connected somewhere. We're probably going to find out we got the same cousin here soon.
That's right.
So what do we want to do? We got Robby's here now.
Yep.
Let's jump to our clips.
Okay. Play some quick clips. Here we go.
All right. So these are 7 of the world's greatest clips that I chose. Clip 1. The sound is good. I'm just always amazed by this because I swear to God, these guys got gravity figured out completely.
It's unbelievable.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's go ahead and watch this clip. Some of the leaps they do from a standing start is just crazy.
I mean, the throttle and clutch control and the balance is just crazy.
Yeah. Look at that. It's right up
one
there.
wheel. That's nuts.
Okay.
That is crazy.
I actually have an old 1970s trial. It's called Trials.
You do.
And I have
it's a beautiful bike.
And I would be afraid to do any leaping from rock to rock. All right.
Yeah, I was going to say my favorite part was the guy just standing there as he's leaping to the rock that the guy's standing right behind.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. Totally trusting him that he's not
going to he's going to just not run into him, yeah. All right, clip 2. This is just a really up-close macro shot. I used to do wildlife shots like Not quite this good, but I had a pretty powerful macro lens and I could do some pretty amazing stuff. And just look at this monster. The dragonfly. I had no idea they had appendages at the bottom of their chin, little mini arms. You see those two there? They're folded in. God, they're best.
That's incredible.
Could you imagine if that thing was 70 feet long?
Oh, no. No thanks.
That would be like, ugh. All right.
That is cool.
That is such a cool. And then clip 3, sound is good. This is the tawny frogmouth. I think they should have named it the log bird. You would never spot one of these. Look at this thing. Let's wait till they show it. I think they show it from the side. It just looks like a stick.
Yeah, that's some good camouflage, man.
Great camouflage.
Yeah. So I think we should start decorating our camera traps like tawny frogmouths. There you go. Okay, that's an irritating.
That's
I'm not a fan of their song.
Yeah, no.
And speaking of pulsating things, clip 4, the sound is good. This is a pulsar star and what it sounds like. And this is actual audio. Could you imagine our son if it did that? It would drive us nuts. Listen to that racket all night. All right. I don't know why I picked annoying sounds tonight, but I did. It's like, let's see, what other annoying sounds can Doug do? This one here is, this is really interesting. And it's about the Maranagani effect, it's called, where things that are similar attract, right? We all know about water tension. We see it all the time. But these things, some of the video in here, I might have you skip ahead. And then, anybody can look it up. But go ahead and play this one. Watch this.
The law of attraction states that like attracts like. But I never thought it would go this far.
Jeff, fast forward.
Of liquids.
All right, watch this.
In 2009, an undergraduate at the University of Wisconsin was doing an experiment where he dropped some drops of food coloring onto a sterile glass slide. To his astonishment, the drops seemed to come alive. They began moving on their own and interacting with each other. Had he just discovered a new form of life? He studied this phenomenon on his own until later joining the PhD program at Stanford, where he and his team finally got to the bottom of what was going on. They found that these droplets mimicked living cells and could even self-sort. In this video, I'm going to show you how this works and even show exactly what to do to mimic this experiment at home for yourself.
The reason this happens with food coloring specifically is because of a special ingredient called propylene glycol.
This is a drop of water, and this is a drop of propylene glycol. When I put each of these liquids on clean glass slides, they spread out almost completely. But something interesting happens when we combine the two drops into one drop. They don't spread out as well. So if we look at the drop height versus the percent of propylene glycol, we get a curve that looks like this. For some reason, when we mix the drops in almost any ratio, the drops get an edge to them that puff up.
Fast forward a little bit.
The reason
Jeff.
this happens is just happens when the evaporation of water from the drop isn't uniform. It can move. For example, if I place another drop of the same mixture of propylene glycol and water near each other, the water from each of the drops starts to evaporate. But notice how in the middle of the two drops, the evaporated water builds up more. So there's a higher relative humidity in between the drops than on the other side of the drops.
Isn't that interesting?
Water doesn't evaporate as fast when there's a higher humidity in the air. The drop is attracted to anything with water on top and drives it away. Really, the water drop is pulling the propylene glycol-rich drop. If I make a path for the drops, you can see that it just drives it around and around in a circle. This can even go uphill against gravity. The two drops pushing each other is basically the same mechanism that's causing either drop to move in the first place.
Isn't that crazy?
The flow goes from low surface tension, high propylene glycol areas to high surface tension, high water areas. What's really neat about this is that the liquids can even self-sort. If I arrange the liquids so that they go from high concentration of propylene glycol to low concentration, then whatever concentration of drop I roll down this incline, it will find its corresponding concentration bin. This is because the higher water concentration drops get repelled until they find their same concentration. This is so cool.
Wow.
So if you want to try this at home, it's actually not that hard to do, but you have to be very specific with how you set it up. First, you need very clean glass or it won't work.
That's good.
The
Yeah, we'll just show people how cool it is.
Yeah, that's wild.
You can look it up, but there's a certain brand of food coloring that does it really well. And there's another brand that doesn't. It has to do with that propylene glycol.
Propylene glycol, yeah.
Yeah. That'd be a fun experiment for kids to see.
Yeah.
Lord knows they put enough food coloring in our food.
That's just
Propylene glycol. All right. This clip, have you heard, Carl and Jeff, have you heard about the Everglades being on fire last week?
No,
I have not. No.
Oh, yeah. The Everglades are on fire.
Oh, no.
And it's really odd to me because you would think those plants would be so soaked with moisture, because they're in standing water. But there is dry grass that comes out of the water, but you still would think there'd be enough moisture and humidity the fire wouldn't burn. But go ahead and play this.
Tons of oxygen.
Now, the devastating fire in the Florida Everglades has already burned 11,000 acres. Now, this might be a silly question, but as you can see from this aerial video, why is this fire burning in a straight line? Does it have to do with something of the geography of the area? Because you gotta admit, those lines look almost pretty perfect. So if anyone out there has the answer to this question, please leave it in the comments.
Yeah, and I heard other people mentioning it's just burning in this exact perfect straight line.
Weird.
Which is odd. There you go, Carl. Think about that one tonight when you're trying to go to sleep.
Absolutely.
All right, clip 7. Last one. Sound is good. This is just a really short clip, but this is amazing. These guys are athletic. It's the ultimate hacky sack. Go ahead and play this. So it's like playing volleyball, but they can't use their hands. We would be totally useless on that team, Jeff.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be. Yeah, I don't.
And we
think
could
so.
probably bump it up with our head. We could probably, do
Yeah, I
that
can
kind of
handle that.
stuff. But I doubt we'd be doing backflips and kicking
That's
it
crazy.
backwards
That's some
over our
athleticism.
head.
That looks like
Jesus.
broken bones to me. I don't know about
Oh
you.
God, yes. I tell people this. I broke my ankle in volleyball. Jumping up to spike a ball, landed. My ankle was crooked when I came down on it, and it literally broke my leg where I limped for 10 years after
that's
that.
not good.
So volleyball can be dangerous.
Oh, it absolutely can. I'm proof of that because I played 2-man sand volleyball back in the 80s.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Pro.
What did you break?
I broke everything. That's why his fingers. Every finger is broken here.
Oh, no.
Well, it looks so tame, but if you really get into it and you really want to win, and you're
Competitive
focusing on how high you're going.
Right.
You're not thinking about when you come back down.
Oh, I had indoor. I had a 42-inch vertical, and outdoor I had a 34-inch vertical out of the sand. So
wow.
Yeah, and I was a really good volleyball player, and I still like playing it today, and I do play it today, but
It's a fun
I'm
game.
more careful.
yeah,
I'm not going to sacrifice my leg.
no.
All right, tech breakdown. We're going to do this really quick, and then we're going to bring on Robby. And it's just about a method that you can use to hide your camera tracks.
All right.
Camera
Okay.
traps. Did I say camera tracks? Camera traps. And we are back. All right. Now, if you can see, there is just a standard camera trap because, guys, we can't just keep strapping them on trees. They're not doing much. So one mistake researchers make with trail cams is placing them in normal human eye level. So if an animal were obviously our target, it would be probably Bigfoot. Or anything highly observant moves through the woods regularly. They're looking eye level, just like humans. I would imagine that they're similar. The idea is to look for a natural feature like a stump that you can hollow out and not. And so what I'm recommending you do is bring in a tarp, hollow it out any way you can, or a muddy, like a moss pile like this. Bring out whatever you shovel out, whether it's wood or whatever you do, haul it out with you. And that way you've increased your odds by 4-fold.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they can only see it one direction. If they come from the back or the sides, they're not going to see it, especially if that hump was already there in the forest. We all talk about, they noticed, if you went in their living room and you changed things and blah, blah, blah. The idea is to not change something. Go low, go very high, but go low. Low is safe. High is dangerous because how are you going to climb a tree? You're going to carry a ladder? So I recommend you go low. These lenses are very wide angle. It shouldn't affect anything. And you can see now, you got to make sure your passive sensors are visible, but you can pile even more stuff on it. So there you go. Yeah, I mean, that's that simple. Carl?
That's good. No,
are you a victim of putting them on tree trunks too?
I have done that in the past, and I've put them up very high by foolishly climbing up trees and having them angled down and doing all these different things and leaves and branches, and they're totally hidden. Or so I thought, and it's been some time that I've given up on camera traps where it's like I'm just going to interact with them, not.
Well, that's fine, that's cool, but we'd still like to get some. I just don't believe there's no reason to give up. The camera traps are harmless to them; they're not going to get hurt. Well,
nope.
Anything good happens out of some real series of good video or pictures, clear, will be protected land. So that's all I ever think about. But the idea is to not disturb their area. And maybe another idea is take a couple of people and have them kind of do a drive around the perimeter to make sure there's no spies. So have a couple of people walk around, clear the area. Just keep walking in a spiral, clear the area. So when the person is digging out that moss stump or that wood mossy, that rotten stump to place a camera trap in it, they're going to be free of spies.
That's a good idea.
So there you go. All right. That's all I got. Let's take just a real quick commercial break.
Yep.
And then we're going to bring on Robby.
Hanger 1. We'll be right back.
Bigfoot through paranormal mystery stories that come alive. Immersive book technology. Hanger 1 Publishing. Step inside. Step inside.
Okay, we're back. Where'd Doug go? There he is.
I'm here. Yeah, I want to do a shout out to Matt Langford there. He said he placed his high in trees, and the next several will now go low. There you go. Great idea.
Good idea.
It's a simple idea.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
And don't give up. Spend a year, 2 years on going low like that. Start searching, and maybe even do it a little out of their area. Maybe not right in their area, maybe on the perimeter. a lot of people work certain areas they know are really active. Maybe do it on the perimeter of the area. All right. Let's get to Robby here. I know he's waiting. Excited to get him on. Let's see here. Let me read this. So our guest, Robby Raines, has investigated strange encounters across America, from the deep woods of Missouri, North Georgia, to the remote backwoods. What is wrong with me? Back roads and forgotten places where people claim they were not alone. But what makes tonight especially chilling is that Robby's journey into the unknown didn't begin in a book or a podcast. It began with a personal encounter near his great-grandparents' property years ago. And I believe he still lives near there. An experience that still follows him to this day. So tonight we'll talk about all sorts of, cryptids and unexplained encounters. So let's welcome Robby.
All right,
Officer
welcome, Robby.
Robby Raines.
Hello.
There he is.
Hey, Robby, how are
Good to see
you?
you.
Doing good, Doug. How are you?
I remember obviously meeting you it was probably 3 years ago.
Yeah, thereabouts.
DA show, and you were also hosting, but we never had a chance to ever talk. Ever.
Not other than the show. No, we hadn't.
No. So anyhow, okay. So first off, you're still working, aren't you, in police work?
Yep. I got a few more years before I can hang it up. So
okay.
Yeah.
And why are you willing? Let me ask you this: why are you willing to even go public and just tell your story?
Well, for probably 40 plus years, I didn't talk about it.
Oh.
And getting to be friends with DA and Doc and Steve and the guys up there, I just got to a point where I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be scared to tell my story and I guess something that really kind of set me off about it is, and not the department I'm at now, but another department. I literally had one of the officers look at me and say that he believed in aliens and believed in ghosts, but it was stupid to believe in Bigfoot. And I'm like, how can you sit there and say that you're open-minded enough to believe in extraterrestrials or the supernatural, but you can't believe in Bigfoot? And I'm crazy for believing in Bigfoot, but that kind of started me or set me up on the, you know what, if somebody asked me, I'm not going to openly, at that point anyway, I wasn't going to openly go out and talk about it. But if anybody talked about it, I wasn't going to, I don't know anything about that anymore. I was just going to say what, I guess that comes with getting older too. You just get to the point where you don't care. You'll say what you're going to say, and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, really, what are they going to do? Yeah. What are they going to do to you? I mean, you could probably get teased to be the worst, right?
Exactly. And that happened plenty enough times. So which is why I stopped talking about it. Then, just like I said, I just got to the point where I was just like, I'm not going to be able to change what anybody thinks. So I'm going to say what I'm going to say. And if they like it, if they understand it, if they agree with it, fine. If they don't, fine too. It's no skin off my nose if they don't believe my story.
Have you had anybody from the police department ever approach you and go, hey, I saw something one night too that was really weird?
Yeah, actually I have a guy, he worked with us before, one time before, left and went to the county agency, and he's now back with us. But while he was still with that county agency, he called me one day and he said that he had an encounter, and he wasn't sure what it was. Yeah. So when he started describing it, I was like, okay. And I started asking him questions. I said, well, when you heard this growl, I said, did it kind of like reverberate through your? He said, yeah. He said, I had both. He was on a little back road where it was on the backside of some property that the front side was being developed, but the backside butted up next to, if anybody's familiar with South Carolina and Clemson areas, next to T. Ed Garrison Arena, there's a lot of stories from years and years and years come out of that area. So he was back there checking out. They'd cut just like an old gravel road they put in just so they could get to the backside of the property if they needed to do any work on what they were doing. So basically it was just a little access road to get to that backside of the property. but kids obviously like to, because it's way off the beaten path, they would like to go out there and park. So he was just out there checking that. So he was rolling down the road with his lights off because it's not a controlled access road. It's just something they cut in. So he shouldn't have any vehicle traffic out there. So he's rolling really, really slow, really quiet, had the windows down. And he said off to his left, he heard something. And so he stopped the car, or stopped his patrol car, and sat there for a little bit. And this guy's former Marine. He's hunted bear, hogs, all that stuff all his life. He's not a guy that's going to shake real easy. But he said he heard something growl. They stopped and kind of listened for a second to see if it did it again. He said, and the second time it did it, he said he just felt it vibrate all through his chest. And I was like, okay, so what'd you do? He said, well, I kept on going until I saw that there was no cars there. I turned around and I left. I said, fair enough. So he started doing a little bit of research in it, and I already had heard this legend, but there's a legend called the Monkey of Mall Bridge, because Mall Bridge Road's close to that area, so that's kind of in that area. But I think that's kind of a Bigfoot type legend, because we've got a road here in Pickens County called Booger Branch Road. Now, why in the world would it be named Booger Branch Road?
Exactly.
Yep.
And that's not far from that area.
Well, it's interesting. My buddy had a sighting on Fur Man Road. Like, why would you name that road Fur Man?
Yeah.
It just seems odd. Coincident, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe, but probably not.
Yeah. I always get a kick out of it. Okay, so you've had just a tad bit of teasing. I'm sure it was in good fun, but don't you think things have changed now?
Yeah, honestly, and really here in the last, I would say probably 2 to 3 years, it's really gotten, and advent of shows like y'all's, our show, Jessica's show, shows that aren't afraid to get, especially the shows that are like, don't prescribe to one particular, it's this way. It's like, hey, you believe this, you believe it's this, whatever. It shows that you could open up and talk about, where anybody can come on no matter what they believe, and you're not going to get ridiculed for it. Oh, you're in this camp or you're in this camp. I think shows like that is why it's kind of become so much more mainstream, because, before, if you didn't believe they were a certain way, then you couldn't talk about it or to these people, or, and that's really been within the past 2 or 3 years. I think that's changed.
Yeah, I mean, it just keeps getting better. I know, obviously, Monster Quest had a lot of resistance when it first came on, Legend Meets Science, and then it was Finding Bigfoot and Expedition Bigfoot. Well, and I mean, these are primetime shows.
Yeah, your show was a forerunner for all those shows. I watched every episode of Monster Quest. Because I hadn't met DA or any of them at that time,
right?
And that was at that time. That was the only. At that point, was the only time I could, get any kind of my fix on that stuff and my info.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Well, you realize, they did a lot of good for a lot of witnesses that felt more courage to kind of come forward, really realizing, I guess I'm not crazy, because every week they could listen to other witnesses and watch the science behind it. So, it's come a long way. So anyhow, I do commend you, obviously, for your service, which is, it's dangerous. Robby has a dangerous job, but also for the courage to come forward.
Well, a lot of it's got to do too with the chief that I've got now. He's one of those that he doesn't. He like writing the books. He encourages that. He's like, anything you do to make yourself better, I'm going to support you. As long as it's legal, he said, and it's something that you can do to better yourself, he said, I'm going to support it. So he's amazing to work for, and he knows that I'm on the shows, and he said it doesn't affect your job one way or the other if you believe in that or not.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's really not about belief. You saw something, which we're going to get into now. And I'd love to, maybe we can start now with that. But first, Jeff, just to kind of be non-linear here, can you pop up one of his books that he's written? This is the reason he is writing books, because he had a sighting when he was younger, and it's inspired him to do all this writing. And that's powerful. I mean, that sighting had an effect on this man.
It's the sighting and reading one of DA's books is really what that's even an even funnier story of how that happened.
Well, we'll get into that. All right. So what, you can just keep flipping through those, but you can go ahead and tell us. So tell us about what you saw. I have no idea what you even saw.
Okay. So right where I'm sitting right now is maybe 300 yards from where I had the sighting, early 80s. Matter of fact, my daughter just got married yesterday. And my mom and my dad and my uncle and I were actually talking about this, and we were, because my mom said something, all those books from that one sighting you had when you were a kid. And I said, well, that's what happens. But anyway, about 300 yards from where I'm sitting, I want to say it was probably 83, 84, somewhere in there. I was 8 to 9 years old. My little brother had just been born, and I'm 8 years older than him. So roughly in that time frame. As y'all know, back then there was not a lot of there was no internet, obviously, so there wasn't no sitting around doing what we're doing right now. My grandparents, my great grandparents, which was my grandmother's mother and father, this was their house. And at one time he'd owned about 183, I think, acres around here. And at that point it had dwindled, or not dwindled, he'd sold because he was on up in age. So he got to where he was a farmer all his life. He got to where he couldn't do the kind of things he used to have to, or that he used to be a farmer. So he had sold a bunch of land. It was down to probably about maybe 30, 40 acres.
But what's near the acreage? Is there a state forest?
Yeah, right. Then, because he still had all that stuff in that the back area around that his house had on, it was nothing but wood. He had pastures with cows and stuff like that. And there was we called it a swamp, but it wasn't like the Florida Everglades swamp like you showed earlier on the video, but that's what we called it. But basically it was just like an old runoff area where the creek, when it overflowed from rain, he had a little farm pond, and it was fed by a little fresh water spring, and then that emptied off into a creek, and then the creek would run off in certain areas. And me and my cousins as kids would just call it swamp. Like I said, it wasn't technically a swamp, but it was probably 17, 18 acres worth of just dense woodland, and that flat area that would get, really swampy or mucky or muddy, just a mess. Well, I used to love to go play around in that area. And my great-grandmother kept me, or my great-grandmother and great-grandfather kept me, because my grandparents were still working. My mom, my stepdad still worked. So during the summer, or when school was out, or when I got out of school, that's where I stayed. And my great-grandmother would always tell me, don't you go too far in them woods or the boogers will get you. Well, back then I didn't know what booger meant. I just thought it was a term for a monster or something, or just something she was telling me. I didn't find out till probably 4 or 5 years ago that was just another term for Bigfoot. So, but she would always say that, don't you go too far in them woods or the boogers will get you. So this night, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, and my mom were all sitting out on the front porch of my great-grandparents' house talking. They had the old yellow sulfur lights, the gopher lights as we called them. Hey, William. And it had to be a Friday night, because I think I was in there watching the Dukes of Hazzard, because that was my show. And my dad, or my stepdad, worked for the sheriff's office, and he was on second shift then. And this was before cell phones and pagers and all that kind of stuff. So as the show ended, I got up, reached over, turned the TV off. It was an old farmhouse. So I was sitting in the front room, the den. Then the front room was directly in front of me, which led out to the front porch. But directly off to my right was the kitchen, and then a little mud room, or what we call the back porch. But it's just a little place where, when Pa come in out of the field or whatever, he'd take his boots off. It had a little chair for him to sit there. He can take his boots off, and so he wouldn't track mud through Granny's house. But excuse me, it's just a little mud room or back porch. Well, back then when they built houses, especially if you didn't have the money for it, you couldn't afford to bring a bulldozer or anything like that in to level the land and make sure the house was sat perfectly flat. You started building, and wherever the house was high or low, you'd stack block to level everything out. Well, that side of the house was pretty high off the ground. It was probably maybe 6-7 block high. So they had one of those old cement steps that you go buy from Lowe's or whatever back then, and had a little screen door, a little storm door. And I would say the bottom of the floor was probably 5 feet off the ground where the floorboards were.
Okay.
So when I stood up and turned the TV off, this is something that I'll never know the answer to, but why I decided to turn my head to the right and look out through the only light on was in the room I was in, and they had a light on, those yellow lights out on the front porch, but only in the house the only light on was in there overhead of the room that I was in. So the kitchen was dark, and that little back porch area was dark, but you could still see through into the kitchen and out to the back door, but you couldn't see anything outside because it was dark outside. Well, as I look, I see the storm door, and I saw something outside the storm door, but at first I didn't know what I was looking at. So I sat there and looked at it for a second, and then I noticed it was moving, and then the face came into focus. Which, when I say came into focus, I mean in my mind, because it was never out of focus. It was just I wasn't focusing on it. And so as the face came into frame, I noticed, around the eyes, the nose area, the lips, the mouth, there was no hair. I couldn't tell what color the fur was because it was dark outside. It was a dark color, but that's all I know. But all this, there was no hair around that. The typical patty shaped head. And I hadn't at this point had not seen that video, but that conical shaped head. But I noticed it was just sitting there swaying, and that's something that burned into my mind, and I didn't realize it did, but it did. And that'll come into play later when we talk about the story with DA. So in my mind, it felt like it was this took like 15-20 minutes to process, but in reality, this was probably like 5-6 seconds, just like that, because all of a sudden everything just like the gears lined up and everything spun. That paradigm shift happened, and I was like, monster. That's just the only word that came into my mind. So I turned around, hightailed out on the front porch, and I was, just inconsolable at that point. I was telling my mom, I said, you gotta call dad, gotta get dad out here, get dad out here, get dad. She's like, Robbie, calm down, what is going on? Your dad's at work. Well, get Uncle Brian down here, because my uncle was 6'5", about 300 something pounds, played football. In my mind, nobody could beat my stepdad or my uncle. My stepdad was a cop, my uncle was a big guy. I needed one of them down there like post haste, as Doc would say. I needed somebody down there quick. Well, like I said earlier, no cell phones, no pagers, no nothing like this. So to get dad and get him over there, he was out on the road working second shift. She had to call dispatch, let dispatch know I need my husband to call. I'm down here at my great grandparents. He's got the number. Or my grandparents, excuse me. And so you have to call dispatch. Dispatch has to radio him. He has to drive somewhere where he can, this is 9 o'clock at night back in the early 80s. There's not a lot of places open 24/7 back then. So he had to drive to where he had access to a phone to be able to call. So it was a process. So they get my uncle down there first. And like I said, my uncle's 6'5", so he goes out and stands on the back porch when he gets there. He just lived right up the road, still does, and he stands on. I think he's probably on either the first step down or maybe the second step down, and he's standing there and he said, "See, it's just a shadow. You see?" And I'm like, "No, Uncle Brian." I said, because I looked and I could see his head, the little center section of the door where you would pinch those little things and raise the storm window up, and it's had the screen. So if it's a storm, it blows in, it won't break the door. That little center bar was like right here on his head. This thing's head was up because it was kind of bent down, and the top of the door still cut off about that much of its head. So, like I said, he's 6'5", so you do the extrapolation. I'm saying this thing was probably anywhere 11 to 12 feet, 11 and a half, 12 feet, somewhere around there.
Robbie, how far away do you think it was?
So I was right at the doorway to where they had their TV was right at the doorway of the kitchen. Old timey farm kitchen. It's probably 10 feet long, let's say. Exactly, just for a accurate measurement. I couldn't tell you accurately how long it was, but that room 10 feet, then probably another 3 feet of that, 3 or 4 feet of that little mud room. So I was within 20 feet of it. Let's just put it that way. I say that's a
wow.
Without being able to go over to that house
right.
and go there and measure it, I would say that's probably a safe guess to say 20 feet was
okay. It's pretty close.
Yeah. And I've been asked the question, well, you think it wanted to get you? I'm like, no, because if it had wanted to get in that house, there wasn't nothing stopping it but one of them little flimsy storm doors.
Yeah.
I would, if it wanted me, I wouldn't be sitting here talking right now.
No.
Probably just wanted to see Dukes of Hazzard.
What was your exact age, Robbie?
I was probably between 8 and 9. I was probably 8 on the way to 9, depending on what exact month it was. Because that's the thing that I can't remember. We were even talking about it yesterday. We can't remember exactly what month it was. We know my brother was born in January of 82. So it was somewhere, and I would have turned 9 in November of that month. Or that year, rather. I'm sorry. So it was somewhere between January and November,
right,
of 82. So I was probably pretty close to 9 at the time.
All right. So you can continue, Robbie.
Yeah.
So
how did this resolve?
Well, so obviously none of the adults there believe me. My stepdad gets there. He kind of gets me calmed down, and he didn't believe me either. He was like, he got this book or this magazine. He used to get it all the time called Police Beat. And they had an issue in there one time. And I can't remember what the term is. It's not pareidolia, but it's like pareidolia, but it's something like, and basically the cover shows it's like a shadow of a big creature coming around a corner. Well, the next picture on the inside of it, it's just garbage stacked up outside of a door, and you see the shadow in the alley, and it looks like something that's not. That it may be a form of pareidolia, but I don't think that was the actual word they used. But so he was like, that's what it was. He was trying to explain it away with that, and I was like, no, that's not what it was. They went out the next day looking for footprints, supposedly, but that was real hard packed ground, and it hadn't rained in a while, so it was just like almost like concrete out there, basically. So, but they told me they didn't find anything. I don't know if they did or they didn't, because sometime within the next week or two after that, my stepdad, my uncle, my grandpa, and my great grandpa went out into that swamp area looking for a bear that was supposedly scaring the cows.
So, okay, so you had cows that were scared. What other things happened around the homestead that you can remember or people mentioned? Were there other things, any house bangs, rock throws, any other?
That was the one and only thing that I can think of there. But now, when I went to my real dad every other weekend, he lived off of way above Pickens. There's actually, my old chief is in the chat, and my dad doesn't live far from where he lives, and it always has been, and it still is, a pretty sparsely populated area. And there's some things that I heard when I was a kid, that not knowing anything, that don't have the internet, I'm about 99.999% sure I've heard calls and wood knocks up there that I just didn't think anything about because, you just didn't know about it back then. Because I remember hearing stuff, when my two stepsisters, we'd be out playing, we'd hear something, we'd all three stop. What is that? Oh, it must be a bird or something, or, a stick must have fell out of the tree or something. You just explain it away.
Right. Absolutely.
But I would be 100%, almost 100% sure that we've heard stuff up there and just didn't know what we were hearing.
Right.
Sure.
But that's around here though, that's the, because that area was really there was another guy that was about my great grandfather's age that had some land over there behind this land. And that was about the two biggest areas that were still untouched as far as people putting houses and stuff in. But now, since then, my stepdad actually looked at the BFRO, and there was actually a sighting within a couple of months of mine, or that same year, probably 6 miles from here at the same time. So
interesting.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that kind of led him down the road to start believing me, plus him being in law enforcement for 40 years, and he was a detective. He was actually a lieutenant over the juvenile division, and he's interviewed thousands and thousands of people. And he said the one thing that he notices, he's like, you might remember a detail that you just didn't remember. He said, but your story for 40 plus years has never changed. He said, he's even told me here recently, he's like, I've watched some of the replays of shows that you've told the story on, and it's still the exact same story you told when you were, 8 or 9 years old. He said that doesn't happen. And this is coming from somebody who spent 40 years in law enforcement. He said that doesn't happen. You don't keep telling the exact same story the exact same way if it's a lie or if it's, just imagination. He said the story itself, other than remembering a detail here or there, like, oh yeah, now that I really think about it and process it, I do remember that it was swaying, or I do remember that it turned its head, or just little stuff like that. He said, but the fundamentals of the story has never changed in 40 plus years.
Did you notice any eye glow or eye movement?
No, and that was one of the first questions DA asked me when he and I got first started hanging around. I don't know that I did or not, because like I said, there was the only light that was on was inside the house.
Yeah.
So if it did, it didn't register to me, because it's literally once that face came into focus in my mind and what I was looking at, I didn't stay around to look at it anymore. You
were out of there.
Yeah, because it's like you're looking at it and you don't know what you're looking at. Then all of a sudden, everything just oh crap, gone.
Did you get goosebumps? Did you get?
Oh yeah, I the first time I told the story on DA's show, I've said this, like if you watch Fred Roll tell his story, because his encounter happened when he was
we had Fred on.
You can really see how it affects Fred. There's no way around it, and it still affects me. But I think because I had it so young, and I've had so many years, and plus what I do for a living and the things, I think I've just had time to process it. And when I had it at the young age, my mind was able to rebound, and it's still a paradigm shift. It still affected me. It still affects me thinking about it.
Well, let's talk about the paradigm shift, because you're 8 or 9. Did you have your head on a swivel every time you went outside? Did you?
Before that, I was always in the woods, and I still went in the woods after that. But after that, it wasn't just walking around. I was banging sticks around. It was like, okay.
You were aware of your surroundings.
Yeah. Head on a swivel.
Exactly.
I know the feeling.
Because it's like, we talk to people all the time. And once that switch is flipped, you can't flip it back.
Right.
You don't go back to the happy-go-lucky thinking there. I mean, yep.
Exactly.
William and I talked about that. William's actually the one that kind of helped me come to that conclusion. I was on his show, and me and him talked for a good while before and after the show, and he helped me come to that conclusion that because I was so young, that's probably why I was able to process it so much better.
Did you stop doing anything? I mean, did you go in the woods less? Did you?
I don't think I went in the woods less.
A little more afraid of the dark, going outside at night.
But I think it's just more like what Carl's saying. It's just the head on the swivel. Is I went out. Maybe I didn't go out quite as far as I used to.
Yeah.
Once. Maybe I was listening a little bit more to "Don't You Go So Far in Them Woods."
Yeah.
Instead of thinking whatever, it was like gotcha. I ain't going far.
What about being creeped out by the windows, or when you walked into that kitchen again?
That
like the next day, what did you do?
That was a different story, because I didn't want to sit in there by myself and watch TV. I would sit out on the porch with them and listen to them talk, other than go in there and watch TV. That changed, but I guess being outside during the day, I didn't really think about it as much. I mean, I thought about it, but I didn't feel, because there again, we didn't know as much then as we do now. I guess I thought it was something that only came out at night. I'm thinking that's what I was thinking in my head as a 8-9-year-old. Well, that was at night. So my patterns did change at night when I was down there. I wouldn't sit in there in the den by myself and watch TV while they were out on the front porch. I was always out there on the front porch.
Yeah, I gotcha. Gee. Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's actually pretty traumatic, though, for a kid to go through, actually. And then not have the support of your family either. It's not.
Yeah. Well, like I said, my stepdad has come around to believe in me. And my uncle is more along the lines of, I don't know if it was Bigfoot, but I do believe that you saw something.
Yeah.
My mom's kind of like, well, I think you saw something that upset you, but I don't know what it is. And both my great grandparents and my grandparents are gone now, so I don't know what they feel. And by the time I was able to, as an adult, was able to start putting all this stuff together, they were all gone. So I really couldn't go to them and start asking questions about, okay, well, when you said this, what did you really mean? Or when you went down, what did you eat? And that's one of my biggest regrets of this, is they were gone before I really got into this and know some of the stuff that I know now. That now I'm like, well, I wish I could have asked them that question now that I know what to ask. But I repressed it for so long. I hadn't thought about it. So
sorry, Bobby. There's kind of a delay, so accidentally talking over you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Art asks, can you tell us more about the face?
Well, the way that the Patterson Gimlin, when Patty turned, the circle, the way the eyes were sunk in, and the large flat nose and the lips, that's exactly what. And I hadn't seen that video at the time. I didn't see that video, and it's. And once I saw that video and saw Boggy Creek after that, that kind of changed the way I thought a little bit, because I was like, ooh, this is kind of scary.
Yeah, imagine that.
So, but yeah, it was those same features of the eyes kind of sunk in, the large flat nose, this, like I said, this area right here and around the nose, there was no fur that covered it. That it was all skin, flesh, whatever you want to say. The conical shaped head. I mean, it looked almost identical to what the Patty looked like walking on Bluff Creek. Like I said, I don't know what color the fur was. I just know it was dark because it was dark outside, so it was a dark color. I've always assumed it was black because that's what it looked like, but that's just because it was dark.
Yeah, I was going to say the one that I saw about 120 feet away during the daytime, the skin was a dark gray. Same description that you just gave. Exactly. So,
yeah, that would be the closest thing I could say. Yeah, yes, that was the color. It was a dark color, whether it was gray, black, brown. I don't know. It was a darker color, so dark gray works for me.
Yeah,
because honestly, I don't. Because even 20 feet away, through basically 2 dark rooms with nothing, one of them, 1980s. That wasn't even fluorescent. Well, yeah, I guess it would have been a fluorescent bulb then. Overhead light. Don't get a whole lot of light details.
So where is your fear level at now? Are you still pretty trusting of these things? Are you?
I don't really have a fear level, and there's plenty of people in the chat that will tell you that when we go out, DA always assigns a Robby Wrangler because I am apt to, if we see something, I'm apt to walk straight towards it. We've had several times where DA's son Noah has had to come up and literally grab a hold of me and say, "Nope, come on, let's get back." So, and I don't think it's because obviously it's not because I got a death wish or anything like that. I think it's just I'm one of those people that I just keep doing what I'm doing until I kind of like a line that I just wrote in my latest book out here. It worked till it didn't. So I'm kind of just like,
Do you think there's any kind of cover up? KUS, any hint of it, even in the government and local?
Obviously, I think if you say government, yes, I do think so. I think if things get bad enough that I think government does step in and tell police departments and county departments, all right, we got this, you need to shut up and color, basically.
Yeah.
And people always ask, well, have you got? I've worked predominantly in municipal agencies, so there's not been a lot of rural areas where I've worked. My 30 years have been mostly with city departments.
Right.
Now I have been to prowler calls where that it was never. Well, I saw a guy out here. I saw something out here.
Right.
Now, have I been to calls where I said, I saw a guy walking across? Yeah, but there's been a lot of them where I saw something or I heard something outside the house. Not so, who knows?
Yeah.
In 30 years, I've never caught that prowler, and I mean, he's all over the place.
Well, I've always felt that the government cover-ups for Bigfoot kind of start at the local level. If somebody in the department or whatever sees anything, generally it's just swept under the rug. They're probably not going to their sergeant and talking about it.
Yeah, well, and DA and I kind of talk about that and joke about that all the time. If you saw something like that and put it in a report, you'd probably go in and take a whiz quiz the next morning to see what you were on. Rodney, Cryptid Awareness, that's my old chief. When he was a chief, he's one and the chief that I've got now, of all the chiefs that I've worked for, that's the only 2 that I would trust to go to and say, hey, this is really what I saw. We might not put it in a report still, but it wouldn't be because it was a cover-up. It'd be like, all right, well, we don't need for them to put you out for psych evaluation. But I would trust Rodney or the chief that I work for now would be the only 2 that I've worked for that I would ever trust to go say, this is really what I saw.
Yeah.
But so to that end, I don't know if it's a cover up more than it's an officer saying, I don't want to be labeled as crazy, or as the guy who saw Bigfoot. So unknown animal ran into the woods.
Yeah. I was going to say, you sharing that with them, it's like you're giving them a bolo, right? Be on the lookout, right? This happened to me, and and it was in this area, and keep your head on a swivel, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
is the
I'm
door?
sorry, Doug, go ahead.
No. Is the door on that home that you saw this thing? Is it still there? The door and everything?
That house has been sold like twice, maybe 3 times,
Gotcha.
and so the guy who's got it now. He's a big time contractor, so he came in there and he totally remodeled everything, gutted it, and it sits in the same orientation that it did. But where that door was, he built a big two-car garage.
Yeah.
And so, no, it's not still there. And of course, he came in, he leveled everything out, and it's not like it was before. Because on the far end of the house was maybe like a 1 or 2 block run. The side that it was on was like a 5 to 7 block run. So it was however tall, let's say 5 cinder blocks are off the ground, is how much they needed to do to level that out.
Yeah. Well, if people can imagine a 11 to 12 foot tall creature, that's huge. It's massive.
It's hard to conceptualize that. That's
and its
a big animal.
Its shoulders were outside the sides of the door frame.
Yeah.
Because the only way I saw shoulders was when it was swaying. I could see, like, a side of the shoulder would dip into the door every time it would sway this way. That one would dip in. That's the only way I could see the shoulders.
Do you think it was interested because of you, that you were a juvenile and probably didn't seem threatening?
I kind of we were talking about that one night, and I said, you know what? And this just hit me when somebody said that same thing, or that same form of questioning. I said, you know what? Like when we go to the zoo and we look at animals in cages, I think houses are their zoos. So they're just going in there, they're just looking at the specimens inside the. Oh, look at that one. There's so many, stories of things like that happening. I think it's just curiosity. They're just, they see something. They just want to see what's, just like we are. We walk up and look into a window. Ooh, what's that in there? I think that's just their natural curiosity.
Yeah.
Wondering why we live in a box.
Guy, you asked, what is the strangest, wildest encounter for a police call that you've ever maybe taken or have you ever heard of? Is there one that we all know about the Martin Grove situation?
As far as me, I haven't had anything that jumps out that's cryptid or supernatural. Now I do have a buddy that he was my lieutenant at another agency that I worked at, and it was I can't remember. I want to say it was an old movie theater at one time, and they bought it and turned it into a funeral home. And he was coming in, and the way we did at that shift, we were still on 8-hour shifts. So the oncoming shift would take calls for the offgoing shift. So the offgoing shift would go right to reports. Well, as he was coming in, he hears one of the offgoing guys get a call to that mortuary, and he's like, "Well, I'm close." So he radioed and told the guy he'd meet him there, and that way he's like, if there was any report that needed to be done, he would take it, and that guy could go home. So they get there and they go in, and they had a little coffee shop built into the front lobby area, but it had already closed, and this little girl was the only one there. She was doing the last bit of paperwork. She was like the front desk receptionist or whatever. She was trying to get all her stuff ready to close up and go home. And she said she looked up and she saw a guy walking. She never heard a door. She just heard a guy walking, and he walked right by her, and she was like, "Sir, can I help you?" And he just kept on walking and walked into the back. And so she was freaked out. So she calls the police. Well, my buddy and the other guy show up, and she tells them. They said, "All right, well, what was he wearing?" She describes it. And I don't remember the exact clothing description, which doesn't really matter, and you'll see why in a minute. But they got the description, and they start searching the place. They search all offices. They search all the rooms. Nothing was locked, so they got into everything. They worked their way down. They get to one room left, and the last room they had left to search was, I guess it was called it's where they get the bodies ready, do the processing and all that stuff. And they're both like, well, we got to search it. They go in, and I've heard him tell this story probably 20 times, and it's never changed once. He said they walk in and they see a guy laying on the preparation table, only body there, getting ready to be prepped, and he's wearing the exact same thing that girl described.
Oh, wow.
So they looked at each other and said, yeah, let's go. So they went back out and the little girl said, did you find him? They were like, no, he must have got out another door. So let's go ahead and shut this thing out and go. But the funny thing is, he said he looked down when he was listening to her talk to his partner and tell the description and everything. He looked down, and because I said it was pouring down rain, he said he saw wet footprints in the lobby leading back out or into the back of the room. So they actually thought they had somebody in there, and the only thing that was in there was that body laying on the table.
Oh.
Creepy.
Now, when you say wet footprints, do you mean not blood or anything?
Like it'd come in from outside in the rain.
Oh, Jesus. That's creepy. Nice. Thanks for that one.
Yeah.
That's a crazy story, man.
That's crazy. Do you ever get any pterodactyl sightings?
I've heard of them, but I don't think we've
never
had
any come in.
No, nothing around here. I think that's more like something that happens around the Midwest, like where there's a lot more open space. That's not saying that there's not some around here, but I know that there's been a lot of sightings of them, but I've never personally had one or heard of anybody around here that had one. I think Jessica said that she might have talked to somebody one time that said they might have saw one somewhere around North Georgia where she does a lot of her investigations. But I can't remember for sure if that was what she said. I know she's taken reports of people saying there was dinosaurs that they've seen, but that's just me hearing her talk. That's not hearing a story or anything.
Have you or any of the people that you know ever seen any decent UFO sightings?
Well, funny you should mention that because I had one.
Well, that's thanks to Caillou.
Yeah.
Last year, I think, I went down. Mary Ann Zabel invited me down to one of her conferences. She wanted me to teach a tracking class. So I think it was the first or the second night we were there. No, it was the second night we were there. She's like, well, because the first night I went with another group. So this night she's like, oh, I want you to go with our group. She said, because I want to hear some of the tracking stuff. And that's the whole thing. We were down there looking for Bigfoot. That's all we were looking for. So we go down this area. This is in Missouri, and it was a big boat ramp, and it had two ramps and a big parking area, and then another bigger parking area up above it. So it was like basically like two stages. You had a big parking lot up here, smaller parking lot in the boat ramps, and then there was a huge field, and it was on the Niangua River, which is a pretty big river, and there's like little these little camp areas all over the place. There's not a whole lot of houses. Well, we're walking around down around the creek or around the river area looking for stuff, and Mary Ann's husband Robert had said, "Hey, y'all wanna see a weird light?" Right, sure. So we walk up there to where he's at, and he's out standing in the edge of that big grass field, and we ran estimates on this. This thing was probably about a mile away from us, but it's just this bright white light, and it's like you can see a hill in the horizon, and then light above. So it would drop down sometimes and be right in front of the trees, and it was doing. I mean, at times it was like a heartbeat monitor. It was doing like this,
really,
but it would go over here, and it would go back there, then it would go up above the tree line and do all. It was just erratic. There was no pattern to it or whatever. We sat out there for like 2.5 hours watching this.
Wow.
It didn't have any green lights or any red lights on it. We had a guy that had a thermal. He hit it. There was no heat signature to it. It was weird. That's probably, in all my years of Bigfoot and all that stuff, that's the weirdest thing that I've ever experienced. Because I can't explain what I was looking at other than there was a white light in the sky. And the funny thing is there was a guy who was really big into UFOs that wanted to have a Bigfoot experience, but he had a lot of his little UFO gadgets. So he gets out there and he's dumping his bag out, getting all his stuff out, and he pulls out this big scanner, and I think it went from like 200 megahertz all the way up to 900, and I'm sure somebody or one of y'all knows what I'm talking about. I'm not a UFO guy, so I don't know it, but basically it picks up on all these frequencies between 200 and 900, and it's supposed to rotate all through them.
Yeah,
it would go from 200 to 400, back to 200, back to 400, and it was just in a perpetual cycle between those two. It wasn't. He said it's never done that before.
Wow.
How big do you think this craft was, or whatever it was? Small, big?
So, to me, it looked like it was that big because it was so far away. But
yeah,
as fast as it was, I mean, this thing would move the length of 2 football fields in like a split second. I mean, it would be like on this side, and then it was over here just like that.
Yeah.
And it would go up and down. I mean, like I said, at one time it literally looked like a heartbeat monitor because it was going in a line. It was up and down, and it was.
Wow.
It's kind of crazy.
I was going to say, when I saw the Phoenix Lights in 1997, that craft was not moving very fast, but it was massive. That's all I'm concerned.
All we could see was that white light. We never saw a craft or anything. It literally looked like, but they went back over during the day, and there were no radio towers. Because at first, you always trying to figure out, okay, well, maybe it's a telephone or a light pole swaying, but obviously that's not that, because it ain't gonna go from here to here if it's a light pole. But there was nothing over there. There was no radio towers. There was no houses on that mountain. There was nothing, because I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe it's a flashlight. Maybe somebody's but there's no way a flashlight was going. Somebody with a flashlight. It wasn't a drone because you would have had a heat signature off of it with the thermal, and it wasn't a plane because there was no red and green lights flashing on it. It was just that one solid white light. It was weird.
Yeah, you wonder if they're being controlled by anything, or whether they're like some kind of intelligence, or if they're drones. If they're you just wonder, what are they? Yeah, why are they acting so crazy? Why the ping pong ball movements?
Now,
what are they doing?
It looked like somebody teed off a golf ball in a tile bathroom at times.
Yeah,
just all over the place.
That's a good description there,
I like
Robby.
that analogy.
Oh my God! Well, it's been described that way by the Navy. They've seen them bouncing all over. Like, why are they collecting data? Maybe they're grabbing bugs. Maybe they're chasing mosquitoes and capturing specimens of mosquitoes. I mean, we don't know what they're doing.
I was going to say that's only in Minnesota, Doug.
Oh yeah.
And any one of those was as good a guess as anything I've got, because, like I said, we sat there
exactly. All we can do is just guess. But people never think about them ever collecting anything. And I think, why wouldn't they collect biological samples? What if they're just kind of grabbing bugs? Just to do a little research.
Like I said, that makes as much sense as anything. I mean, who knows?
I mean, what else is out at night besides bugs flying around? Not much. I doubt it was examining trees at that speed, but maybe it was. Who knows?
Hey, Jess.
It's all speculation. It's unverified crap, right, Jeff?
Yeah. Where is that? I haven't put that up for a while.
No, you haven't put our unverified crap T-shirt. I got to check with Alex because he's got to mail a few of those out.
Oh.
Where is our unverified crap logo, Jeff? There it is.
There it is.
That's us.
Untold Radio AM. Yeah, you're home for unverified crap. I like all the other little subtle, the coffee cup and things. It's pretty cool.
Aliens, maybe.
Exactly.
That was fun to do.
Jeff did that, Robby.
I like that.
Well, I didn't do it. I had a little AI help.
The thing is, we want people to know too. We don't take ourselves that serious because, it's serious to a witness, and it's fun to speculate. Like we're talking about, well, maybe they're collecting bugs. Who the hell knows? It's all on just weird theories. But if we don't talk about it, we're never going to solve the mystery.
And that's the point I was making earlier. It doesn't matter what I think it was or what anybody else thinks it was, because nobody knows exactly what it was or what it was doing. But you're never going to come to any kind of middle ground if you don't sit here and talk about it.
Yeah, maybe it was a teen learning to drive. That's just as likely as anything else.
Doug, I think you figured it out.
We finally nailed it.
Student driver.
I think that was it. It never got close enough to see the bumper sticker, but I bet that's what it was.
I love it. That just sounds like a really great one. Okay, so how often do you go out investigating, Robby?
Not as much as I'd like to, because obviously I'm still working full time. Hopefully that's, the books are my retirement plan, so I don't have to worry about work. When I started, I was like, I just want something that's going to supplement what I'm going to lose when I retire, because I can retire in 2030. So hopefully I'll get to go out more, but I try to get out at least a couple times a year. I try to go to Missouri with DA. Missouri is a wild place to go. I've never been to Missouri with DA and not had something happen.
In fact, I'll be in Missouri tomorrow, so for the week. I'll be in the woods.
It is, nice. It is. I mean, we found everything from deer hides in the tree, fish heads in a tree. That's where I've had what I just told about the light we have there. We've been stalked and paced by what we think is a dog man and Joe Bald before. We had Moon Valley with me, DA, and Doc and Noah, DA's son. We almost got surrounded. Doc actually he didn't have the setup to record at the time, but he had his thermals on, and he actually saw two of them behind, or me and DA were walking up the road, and he saw two of them hiding behind a tree right up where me and DA were walking, and he heard something, and he turned his head, and he saw a third one running down, kind of like it was trying to flank us. And that coined the phrase "thermal don't lie," because if I had a nickel for every time I heard Doc say that within the next 3 hours of the time we were awake, I probably would not have to be working now, because that was his parent. He believed, but he had never had an experience. That was his first experience. And, not many people get to have their first experience with thermal and actually get to see the silhouette or the outline rather. That was a interesting night.
Have you been to the LBL?
Oh, yeah, I've been there several times. I had a really, really, I went to the Woodwalkers thing this last month, I think. When we
you were there?
Mm-hmm.
Well, did you meet Adam Colt?
Maybe. I met a lot of there was a lot of people there.
There was a lot of people there. It's crazy.
Yeah, huge turnout.
It's getting to be quite an event.
Yeah, I was sitting with Cam most of the time because me and Cam were talking about some different things. Cam Buckner. So me and Doc were sitting with Cam most of the time when we were down there. So maybe I met him. Like I said, there's a lot of people that come up and said, "Hey, we watched the show," and didn't say their names and walked off. And we're like, me and Doc looked at, "Did you get a name?" No, they didn't say it. Oh, okay.
Obviously, Coonbo.
Oh yeah. The first time I met Coonbo was 2 years before that when I was down there. We were setting up. We were trying to do Johnny and I were going to remote in live because we were still doing shows on Saturday then, and everything was working, and we're getting everything. And I see this guy walk up to me. A pyro medic was walking with him, and I knew Pyro. He's like, "Hey, Robby, I want to introduce you to somebody." And he goes, "Hey, Coonbo Baker," and I'm like, and DA was live on there, and he had never met him either. And I'm sort of talking to him, and you hear on the computer, "Is that Coonbo? That's Coonbo?" And so Coonbo heard it, and he stuck his head on the camera. He says, "Hey, yeah, I'm Coonbo." So that's how I met him. That's a funny story.
Interesting. So what are your thoughts on Dogman? It's such a strange mystery. It's fueled constantly by, sightings.
Okay. My thing on Dogman, if you look back as early as written history started, the cynocephali were mentioned, dog-headed people, St. Christopher, dog-headed saint, Anubis, Whippawet, stuff like that's been around a lot longer than that term dogman. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, Doug, but I think you might have even had this in the show on the American Werewolf show, that came from a radio DJ to kind of go along with the Beast of Bray Road. Isn't that where that term came from?
I'm not sure.
I don't really know.
I think that's where that a radio DJ coined that phrase sometime in the very late 80s, early 90s, to talk about the Michigan Dog Man.
Right.
It was, because I think back then they were trying to figure out if that was the same creature that the Beast of Bray Road was. So that term in itself has only been around for a short period of time. But, you can go back and look in the 1700s, the French trappers working along the rivers of Missouri and Louisiana and places like that, they were seeing things like this. Werewolf Springs, that story goes way back further than that, but kind of like Bigfoot, everybody kind of puts that term in, but that term wasn't coined until that news reporter made it for the logging camp that was getting messed with. Bigfoot destroys equipment, and that stuck. So I think sometimes people just those popular terms, like calling every soft drink a Coke or every tissue a Kleenex. I think those terms just get used a little too much, and then they kind of take on the life of their own. So as far as dogman, I think it's just a different type. Like Bigfoot is a different word for Sasquatch, Yeti, Oma, Gugway, Janosqua. I mean, every First Nation tribe.
So do you think that dogman reports are Bigfoot? Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm just saying, I think everybody focuses on terminology of what they call it, and everybody's like, okay, this is a dogman. Well, that's just a term of somebody put on it. Now, whether I think they're actually shape-shifting werewolves or not, I don't know, but I think there is some type of creature out there, because, like I said, you go back to the earliest writings known in history,
right.
Cynocephaly, things like that, Whippawet, Anubis. There have been things like this, but they didn't call them dogman back then. They called them werewolves in early, medieval times and things like that. But Wolfman, things like, it's a term that is it's the popular term right now for some of the things that we've seen for centuries.
Do you want to see a dogman, Robby?
I think Jessica and I already have, and I think I encountered one at LBL.
Oh,
Jessica and I went to 2 years in a row. I went to the Georgia Bigfoot conference with her. First year I went with her, we went to a place where she does a lot of research in, and I'm pretty sure that night we had a couple Bigfoot around us. We were standing out there talking. We'd been out there for like 20 or 30 minutes. We were up on this little rise, and the insects it was like being at a concert. I mean, we were literally, 2 feet away from each other, yelling so we could hear each other over the insects. So they weren't bothered with us. And all of a sudden, it's like somebody unplugged a jukebox in a beer joint. It just went dead quiet like that. We both. And I looked at her and I said, and I can't remember if I saw something move or I just had a feeling, but there was something behind her. Well, just as I tell her, there's something behind you, she's looking behind me. She goes, no, there's something behind you. So we sat there for a few more minutes, or maybe a few more seconds, whatever. Jessica, you correct me on time if I'm off on it, but she turns and looks down towards where her car's at. She goes, I think we need to get back down to the car. I think they're trying to, we never felt threatened, say that, but we kind of felt like they were trying to surround us at that point. So we just kind of eased back down to her car. And as we get down to the car, I turn around and look to watch her keep walking down where he's at, and up the top of the hill, right where we were standing, you could see the tree line silhouetted above or in the sky. And as I look up, I see a shadow going across, and I said, turn around, turn around, turn around. And she turned around and looked, and she saw it just as it went in the trees. So it was on two legs, and it was pretty big from from what we could see from down at the bottom of that little hill, walk across, and it was right about where we were just at. So it was probably the one that she said was behind me was going over there. So we got in the truck. We got her 4Runner got going back down the mountain. We both kind of felt like we were still being watched, but as soon as we got back out on the road, it was just kind of like everything went back to normal. So we were like, wow, that was cool. That was really cool. So the next year I go back. Well, she had her son Ben with her. We go back to the exact same spot. I mean, and this is literally a year to the day. We go back up there. No insects, but it just felt different. So I sat there for a little bit. You know, you get out in the dark. You sit there for a little bit, let your eyes kind of adjust. And I was seeing stuff moving, but I'm like, okay, this is just me, my eyes adjusting from being in the car, looking at the dash lights and things like that. But they just kept on moving, and I'm looking ahead of us, and her son's in between us, and then Jessica's behind me or behind him, and we're all looking in different directions. I'm looking this way, he's looking that way, Jessica's looking over this way, and we're all three seeing stuff moving. We just hadn't told each other that yet. So Jessica says, you wanna go move on up closer to the top? I said, no, we need to move on back down towards the car. I just had a bad feeling. I just like, this is just not, there's something's different about this. And Jessica did not argue because I think she had the exact same feeling. She's like, yep, you're right, let's go. So we turned around, we kept her son in between us, and we were walking back down to her vehicle, and something just said turn around. And not like I heard something tell me to turn, but I just got that feeling I needed to turn around. So I turned back around. And have y'all ever seen the movie Underworld, the first one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been a while. But
remember the scene where Celine's in the hallway of the apartment, and she's looking down, and all the werewolves are jumping up on the walls and coming at her? When I turned around, I kid you not, that's what I saw was 3 or 4 shadows moving like that, not up on the wall, but just alternating, moving towards us. So I looked back over my shoulder, and yes, I was healed. And so I had it out. I looked over my shoulder. I said, go to the car, get him in, get it started. And I walked the rest of the way backwards down there. As long as I was looking that way, they didn't move. I backed all the way down, and Jessica got in, got the car cranked, and I got to the car. I got in, shut the door, and off we went. So same exact place, 2 very, very, very different encounters.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wonder. I mean, there's so many people I've talked to that have had, strange experiences, which brings us to our next point. Do you think these, whether it's Dogman, do you think they're flesh and blood? Do you think Bigfoot's flesh and blood? Where do you stand on this mystery? And if you don't know, that's fine. Just say,
anything I say is just my opinion.
Yeah,
so we say it all the time, and I know you.
Well, if you were a betting man, you had to put a buck on flesh and blood or a buck on paranormal. What would you put your buck on?
I've always been flesh and blood camp, because everything that I've ever, with the exception of the light in the sky that I can't explain, but every other encounter that I've had with something in the woods has not acted anything other than an animal. I've debated people plenty of times about the portals and things like that. I'm like, it's just adaptive camouflage. And they're like, well, what do you mean? And I, show them the pictures of the stick bugs, or just like the owl you showed pictures of. That's adaptive camouflage. I mean, I've always been of the school of thought that if you've got a question, look in nature, what we've already discovered. And is there adaptive camouflage in nature that we've already studied? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And all kinds of things, animals have adaptive camouflage.
My God, I just said we had that tawny frogmouth bird.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's where I stand until I see something that I can't explain away like that. Then you know, maybe my viewpoint will change. But if I was a betting man, like you said, and I'm flesh and blood, that's just what I've always seen. I haven't ever seen anything that showed me anything other than an animal.
Yeah.
Very smart animal, but you know, they're very intelligent. I mean, look at how different packs of orcas have learned to hunt differently depending on where they're at in the world.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's fascinating.
I mean, yeah, and that's the same type of creature, but you know, in New Zealand, they're beaching themselves to grab seals and off the shoreline, but in Antarctica, they've learned to use the water when they go swimming under the ice floe and use the water to flush it off. Then you got the two sharks in South Africa that were hunting great whites specifically, port and starboard. You know, they killed 40 or 50 sharks in like a month, I think, that were washing up on the shore that just had almost like a surgical incision and had their livers removed.
Yeah.
But that's, you know, that's the same type of creature, but they're all hunting different ways. So why is it so hard to believe that these things have not, I mean, they're born with a natural ghillie suit. They know the woods better than we're ever going to. They don't want to be found. And there's 88 million acres of national forest. And I don't even count state parks.
Yeah, it's not only national forest, but that forest is a lot harder to get into than people really realize.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, and that's one of the first things I asked. Well, what? Okay, how many countries could you hide in 88 million acres? Countries, a lot. You know, so, and we talked about this just the other day. DA said this: if you could, and this is not feasible, but say you could explore 1 square mile a day, it would take you 129 years to explore Alaska.
Right.
And who could feasibly explore 1 square mile a day? Because that's a lot, and that's constant moving. Exactly. So
if you could walk the perimeter, that would be about
if that's one state, and granted that's our biggest state, but still, that's one state, and it would take you 129 years to completely explore that state. That tells you how big this area is. So to me, that's just, there's plenty of room for these things to hide.
Well, you know, the funniest question I get, and then you can, sorry, Carl, I jumped on you. But you're next. The funniest question I always get is people say to me, well, if they're real, well, how come nobody ever sees them? And I go, well, I think there's probably about 100 to 200 sightings a day. Yeah. You know, and probably
all the time.
You know, 5% are reported to anybody. And so it's fueled. That's why this mystery that's why we're still talking about it, because it's fueled every day by new sightings, new experiences. So they're seeing, and they're not, you know, I really don't think they give a big damn if they're seen. They just don't want contact, you know, generally. Yeah. You know, I mean, they're often seen, but it's brief, and you know, they're out of there once you see them, they're gone.
Well, and a follow up what Robby said too is, I think all of us have been in if you're in a small airplane over bush areas. There's areas in the continental United States you could hide a dinosaur and you would never find it. I mean, there's places not too far from here where the bush is just endless. You could hide anything there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, it you know, my point to that to follow up and agree with you on that is, if you get out of the regulated airspace or out of the shipping lanes, why do you think there's so many planes and ships that are never found again? Because we don't explore that kind of stuff.
Right.
I mean, because they're so dead. There's planes that go down all the time in, you know, uncharted areas that are never found, even with these sophisticated black boxes that they got.
I know. Yeah.
You know, that they can't ever find again. But so why is it so hard to believe that a very intelligent animal that doesn't want, like you said, doesn't want contact, doesn't want to be, it's easy. It's easy for them.
I agree. It's easy.
No, I agree. I was going to add on to your 88 million acre or square miles. The and that doesn't include any of the urban areas that have woods and forests and
Right.
contiguous areas, and that's kind of almost been my specialty, at least in finding them or locating
Monsters
them in
on
urban
the
areas.
edge.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
if you add it, if you just look at national parks, it's 88 million acres. If you add in Bureau of Land Management, state parks, public use ways, reservations, you start adding in all that stuff too. That can't be done. Nothing can be done with it. Can't be what's the word? It can't be developed.
Developed, yeah.
Yeah, it gets up over 1 billion acres in this country. This country alone, over 1 billion acres, where things can just disappear. And I had a interesting discussion with a deer hunter one time, and he was like, "I've been deer hunting all my life, and I ain't never seen them." Okay, I'm a deer hunter too. How many places have you hunted? Well, I got about 4 or 5 places I hunt. I said 4 or 5 places. I said, so you, out of all those 4 or 5 places, because you haven't seen anything at any of those 4 or 5 places, you are qualified to say that they don't exist in all the rest of the woods of the world. And I said, so by your reasoning, and this is DA's line, but I used it on this guy. I said, so by your reasoning, if I go down and I take a teaspoon to the ocean and I dip it up and I look in that teaspoon, I said, no sharks in there. Guess there's no such thing as sharks, because there's no sharks in my little area that I just looked at right here. I said, is that a fair assessment? And he's like, well, no, but that's different. I said, no, that's the same thing. You're basing what you're saying on that little small area that or those 5 small areas that you've hunted. Have you gone out and walked every acre of the Mark Twain? No. I said, how can you? I said, the Mark Twain goes almost across the entire United States of America.
Yeah.
There's 1 million acres in the Jersey Pine Barrens. I didn't know that till I was researching for one of my shows.
Oh, it's nuts.
It is nuts.
I've driven through there quite a few times.
Yeah. I mean, that's just like you said, it's nuts to think, because most people think of New Jersey, you think of the turnpike, you think of casinos, you think of the city. That's what you think. You don't think that there's 1 million acres of untouched wilderness.
Right on your way to Atlantic City. Yeah,
right. Yeah. Well, and the same thing out on Long Island, where I ended up finding, the big folk out there, and it's like, and people would say Long Island, no, that's completely paved over, and it's like, nope, there's and the Pine Barrens even out on the eastern end of Long Island as well. So.
Yeah, and so.
Well, do you think, Robbie? Okay, we'll just kind of switch a little bit. But so you're like me. You think these things use corridors, creeks, travelways, they come within yards of gas stations, and that's one reason I think people don't want to report them, because they saw them in a kind of an urban area
or dumpster,
semi-urban area, and they're like, well, no one's going to believe us because there's a quick trip right down the road, right?
Yeah, well, I'll go one further, because we've kind of been working on a working theory, and we started working this theory probably about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years ago. If you overlap the missing 411 map, the Bigfoot sightings maps, and cave maps, all 3 of those maps really match almost exactly. So what would be an easy way for these things to travel and not be seen a lot? There's a lot of caves in this country. Yep. They recently said they think that the Mammoth Cave could possibly stretch from Maine to New Mexico. Well, USGA can't go into Mexico so if it goes theoretically, if it goes all the way up to New Mexico, it probably goes on into Mexico too. So there's no telling how far down those caves go, and we've only explored 2% of that cave system. Right. DA tells the story that when he was a kid, they put this radioactive marker dye in Bennett Springs and was looking to see where it came out at. 6 months later, it came out in Antarctica, or Antarctica or Alaska one. I can't remember. But 6 months later, it came out in a very cold place, way away from Missouri.
Wow.
So there's places, and that kind of leans in with our other theory, because people are like, well, how would they navigate? How would they do this? How would they do that? So do we think that every tree knock that we hear is Bigfoot walking through the woods with a Louisville slugger smacking on a tree? Because I've walked in the woods plenty of times, and I've never been able to pick up a stick that didn't disintegrate because it'd been laying there. I mean, if it's fresh, yeah. We kind of theorize that these tree knocks, some of them are obviously probably tree knock, or use wood on wood. We think a lot of it is tongue popping.
Yeah.
And the reason we think that is echolocation.
Sure.
Because and what got us started thinking this?
Jeff, throw up the unverified sign. I'm just joking.
Well, Doug, you probably remember, because I think it was on the same channel your show was on, but Discovery did a show with this guy who was he was born. I think he was born legally blind. He couldn't see anything. He was born.
I saw that. Yeah.
He taught himself to echolocate, and they come out and put the
oh my God.
So if this guy can teach himself to do that, why is it a stretch? These things can't do that. So you think of something that massive with that big a chest cavity? Because I've heard DA do a tongue pop. That we were at the Bigfoot convention in Gatlinburg, and I'm sure you've been to that one. It's like there's like thousands of people in there.
No, I haven't.
Well, it's in the Gatlinburg Convention Center, so that's a huge place. There were thousands of people in there walking around talking. It was like just ungodly loud. We're over there talking to Eli from Small Town Monsters, and this is when we were really first starting to work on this theory. And DA did a tongue pop, and it was like you could hear a pin drop after he did it, because everybody just stopped what they were doing and turned around and looked at us like,
really?
What was that?
Well, the reason I believe they're probably doing it with their mouth, because I've heard them answer a wood knock way too quick. There's no way they would have had time to pick up a perfect stick, find the perfect tree. You know what I mean? Because it's got to be the right stick and the right tree.
Exactly. That's what,
and then answer you within 3 seconons. Come on.
Like I said, he unless Bigfoot's walking around with a Louisville slugger on his arm all the time.
Exactly. No, I'm with you. I unverifiably agree with you.
I've heard tree slaps too, where they've actually just slapped a tree. But yeah.
So anyway, that's my theory on that. Is well, not just mine, obviously.
Well, I like the echolocation thing. It's interesting. Yeah. It's as good as any other theory. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I always figured, well, it's just to communicate with each other, kind of.
And I think it probably is twofold. I think it's a communication thing, especially if they're out. But if they're in the cave, I think it can be used as echolocation. And there again, it's a verifiable thing that we've already studied in nature. You know, bats have echolocation, dolphins, whales have it.
Yeah, a lot of animals that do. There's nightjars do. They're a feathered bird. They use swallows use echolocation.
Yeah.
There's a ton of birds that do, and probably a bunch of animals we don't even know about yet that use it.
Yeah.
You know, what about I don't know if you're up on any of this, but Coyote asked whether you'd ever heard this strange kind of vibrating hum or like almost like insect wing sound, either loud or soft in any of your research.
You're just talking about like infrasound or
no? Well, we don't know. There's a lot of reports. We're getting a lot of recordings in now of kind of a overdriven, almost hummingbird wing sounds that these creatures seemingly make. Yeah. It's unverified, but yet we do have some verification, because we even found David Ellis found an old report from like the 1934 of a woman's down at the river washing clothes. She hears this strange hum, looks up the riverbank to expect to see a hummingbird, and sees a Bigfoot with her young. And so we're uncovering more and more writings about this hum. More and more people are sending us. I think we've got like 85 recordings now. So I just thought I'd throw that. I know it was kind of catching you off guard, but
no, I love learning new stuff.
If you ever hear it in the future, you're gonna wanna call me, Robby.
Yep.
It's a really strange sound. It sounds like hummingbird wings, but not.
Yeah.
It's like an overdrive. Yeah, Carl. Even Carl. Okay, so Carl had never heard it, whatever. But he was playing old tapes from the 90s? VHS tapes?
No, like 2003. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
2003 VHS
pretty close.
tapes.
Yeah, old.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden we're listening to his old tapes, and there's the hum.
Here I actually have it handy here. The cell
listen
site
to this,
one.
Robbie.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Excellent.
This is pretty wild. Hold on a second. Here we
Yeah,
go.
purring. Another good word for it.
Yeah.
Almost sounds like one of those didgeridoos.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the guy was telling me about,
I can verify it. I've recorded hours of it up at Snellgrove. It ain't didgeridoos. It ain't bugs. It ain't any of that crap. It's something weird that they put off. And they may do it to comfort themselves. They may be, something they do when they see people. It may be a communication, or they may be doing echolocation with it. That might fall right into your echolocation, Robbie.
Yeah.
Here, this is the one from Snellgrove.
Okay, here's Snellgrove.
This is a 5 times loop.
I mean, it's uncanny how exact we are. One's recorded in Texas back in 2004, and mine was recorded in 2025 up in Ontario.
Yep.
And we've got, like I said, we've collected about 85 recordings now. So
that's wild.
Isn't that a cool sound though?
Yeah. But the guy I was telling you about that did all the UFO stuff in Missouri, he had, and I don't know what it's called, but it's just Australian thing, but it's that little piece of wood on the string.
Yeah.
Well,
where this all came from, Robbie, was Tristan Yolton was just playing recordings of something eating. Him and his mom were getting all sorts of screams and singing and all sorts of strange sounds. But one of the recordings he thought he would play for us was this Bigfoot basically eating, or what we think is a Bigfoot. And there's this hum, that same sound. And I went, whoa. That sounded like it's coming from whatever it's eating. We need to think about this here for a second. And so we didn't blow it off. We played it for people. All of a sudden, all these recordings and witnesses and all this stuff started just flooding us. From even people who were freaked out by it, were, I can go on and on. People that were hearing it from far away, and it was like bothering their ears, making their ears itch, things like that. So it could be tied to the infrasound phenomenon.
Yeah.
We don't know. We don't even know. It is unverified crap at this point, but
100% unverified.
100% unverified, but it's very tantalizing to keep researching it.
Yeah.
It's fun to talk about, that's for sure.
That's what I was about to say. That's what you run across something that you've never heard, and you're like, hey, listen to this.
Yeah. Yeah, David Ellis is working very hard at collecting and analyzing and this, and he's going to have a section on it in his book. So we're hoping to get the word out, because we've barely even got the word out yet. Can you imagine if we get the word out to everybody, in the whole country? That's when the real magic starts happening.
Oh, yeah, because people are like, oh, wait a minute, I've heard that.
Yeah.
Right.
I just didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's exactly. Most people just blow it off because they think, oh, it's a hummingbird. Okay. And, it may be. We don't. It's unverified. We don't know. But it seems to be in kind of conjunction with Bigfoot activities. So certainly was at Snell, and I've never seen a hummingbird up there. Not that far north.
Yeah.
I don't think they would survive.
that's a place that I would love to go do some investigating.
Well,
that was always one of my favorite episodes that y'all did.
I'm always looking for someone who wants to give their life to go to snow with me. Man,
Hey.
you make that trick. Every time I do it, I always wonder, am I coming home? Just, you don't know.
Like I said, you just need to sign a Robby Wrangler.
Yeah.
I'm apt to go walk straight towards whatever's going on.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, you're braver than I am because I'm just frozen. Every time something happens, it's really because there's nowhere to hide, there's nowhere to go. You can't get in your car. You're dropped off by a float plane, and you're stuck there. If you get something pissed off at you, pardon my French, you're stuck there. You're right in the middle of a real horror movie at that point.
Oh yeah.
So you don't know. Anyhow, who else has got questions here? I wanted to wrap up a little early. Carl, Jeff.
Okay.
No, it's been a great conversation.
Oh, absolutely. I know, like I said, I do a lot of research in Missouri. I had a sighting near West Alton, which is, on the Mississippi, kind of near the, what I like calling the Tri-River junction. But the most interesting thing, and I've thought of this, I was like, I could have reported my Bigfoot sighting to the, Department of Natural Resources in Missouri, but they'd think I was daft, right? But in that same area where I had my sighting, one of the times I'm driving down that road and I had a wolverine cross the road in front of me, which I thought if I called and told them Bigfoot, they'd probably believe me more than me telling them that there's a wolverine crossing the road there. But
wow, I've never seen one of those in the wild.
It stunned me. I knew exactly what it was. It was muscular. It was right in my headlights. I mean, if I was going 3 miles an hour faster, I would have hit it. I mean, that's how close it was. And it turned and it looked right at me. I mean,
and it would have probably flipped your car, and then you would have it would come over and ripped you out of the car. And
that's right. But no, I that's a great area, research area, especially down in Southern Illinois and that area. So I'll be out there next week in the woods. So, but
I'll have fun. Good luck, because it's a good state to investigate.
It is.
For sure. It's never disappointed me anytime I've been there.
Good deal.
Jeff, you got anybody in the audience? And then we can wrap up early tonight.
No.
Looks like we were supposed to have severe weather tonight, and it didn't happen.
No.
Did it?
It's still nice outside.
Yeah, it's beautiful out.
I'll take it.
It's absolutely beautiful. I mean, we were hearing like, oh my God, tonight's Sunday night, hail, tornadoes, everything for this area that we're in, and
brimstone. Yeah.
Yeah, brimstone. And it's like, oh really? And I think poor Yvette gets all, she gets a little worried, and I'm like, because we had our home destroyed by a storm one time, and it's scary trying to get your home fixed nowadays.
Oh yeah.
It's not like it used to be when people actually worked. It's like you have your home wreck now, and you're going to have your home wreck for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, things have changed. Well, we really want to thank you, Robby, for coming on. And
thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
You got such a wealth of stories. Now let's talk about the podcast that you're on.
Yeah.
I think I have it here. You're on. What's the name of the podcast?
Well, last time you were on, we were DAX Machina, but we've changed to the Nightmare Hunters podcast.
Oh, yeah, right. That's what it was. Nightmare Hunters. And I noticed the logo kind of looks a little bit like a sheriff's badge. A little bit. I mean, I just thought, I wondered that had something to do with you, but maybe not.
Well, that's that actually the card and the two revolvers. That's actually that comes from the Dark Frontier series, the DA, which actually all three of us are now writing in that series. DA's got the original Dark Frontier series. Doc's going to take his called the Dark Frontiers Vampire Chronicles. I actually sent it's not Civil War diaries because I didn't pay attention when I sent it. It's actually war journals. That Luca did my, I don't know where Civil War diaries came from, but it's actually Dark Frontiers war journals. And so my area of the Dark Frontier series is going to be from World War I all the way up to the Cold War. So
interesting.
And Doc's going to take everything from the Civil War all the way up to World War I, and DA is going to have the modern era for the Dark Frontier series.
So are all your books fiction and based on experiences and things that you've added in?
Yeah, they're works of fiction, but there's a lot of stuff that, like really all the conversation between the characters, Jed and Doc and Declan. That's, you've probably heard, if you read them, you've probably heard and watched the show. You'll get the correlation.
Yeah, there's a difference between fiction writers coming from a guy who's in the know and he knows the truth of what's going on, and then he writes it's going to be a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah, and that's what we try to do. I mean, if one of us says something that's funny, that's going in the book.
I gotcha.
So, and we try to do that. We try to, because obviously those characters are based on the three of us anyway. So we do try to use a lot of the stuff that we hack on each other all the time. So that a lot of that makes it into the books, and it's kind of self-service to us, but there's a lot of people that really enjoy that. So yeah, all the books that DA, myself, and Doc write are all connected in one way. That's every one of those covers that I sent you, Jeff.
Yeah,
they're all connected to
that's cool.
The greater DA verse.
Yeah, I'm gonna check them out. That's really cool.
Oh,
I'm a pretty avid reader, so that's good stuff.
I hear lightning outside. I just heard one. I swear. And let's see here. There was something I wanted to. Dang. Oh well, I forgot what I was gonna mention something. Somebody had asked a question. But where can they buy your books?
They can find all of our books, mine included, on Amazon.com.
Amazon, okay.
Yep. All my books, with the exception of 2, are on the Natural Voice AI, but I've got something working with 2 of the books now and that may turn into more, but we're trying to work on that. But
you're talking about for audiobooks?
Yeah. But they're all Kindle and paperback. I've got hardcover I went back and redid book 1 and did an author's cut for the anniversary release of it, since I've been writing for a year. I went back and kind of tightened up, because when I first started the first 2 books, DA and I, people were wanting us to do them, because Doc hadn't even started writing at that point. But people were like, y'all need to connect the books, but we had no clue how to do it. And DA said, well, if we're going to do it, we need to do it right. And so one of the times that I was sitting down, or was it Missouri, he and I were sitting down, and I'm like, wait a minute, I got an idea. And I kind of rolled it past him, and he's like, ooh, I like that. So then the next week we had Doc on, we got him on a video call where all 3 of us could talk. And we sat down for about 2.5, maybe 3 hours, and hammered everything out. And we figured out how to tie them all in.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
From the middle of book 3 on is where I really start tying everything in with his stuff, and he started dropping Easter eggs. So with the first one, I wanted to go back and kind of tighten it up a little bit and fix some error, because I still don't know what I'm doing, but I really didn't know what I was doing in book 1. So I went back and just did an author's cut, added some things, tightened some things up, changed some things that didn't need to be there. So and that's a hardcover edition on that one.
Oh, very cool. We have to wrap this up. We got lightning bolts hitting outside my window.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I hate having an earpiece in. Just think about the power. So just hang tight, everybody. We'll do our wisdom.
Yep, we'll be right back.
It's now time for Untold Radio AM, Wisdom of the Week. A bad skeptic doesn't investigate. They dismiss. They decide first. then filter facts to protect what they already believe. A good skeptic does the opposite. They stay curious, investigate deeply, study both sides, and remain open to new evidence, even when it challenges their assumptions. Real skepticism is not closed-minded denial. It's disciplined investigation, guided by looking at all information, even if it goes against their bias. Good night. We hope to see you all next week. If you liked the show tonight, please consider giving us a thumbs up, leaving a nice comment, and most of all, subscribing and hitting the bell so you will be notified when a new episode is dropping. Also, please share this episode. Now back to Doug and Jeff for our wrap.
Yeah, that actually referred really well back to something we talked about earlier about just being open-minded. When you're open-minded, none of us have our identity wrapped up in a single piece of evidence or a single theory. So if something new comes out, it's not going to destroy my world. It's just new evidence. We change our minds. We learn. We move forward. I'm not tied to any theory or any kind of piece of evidence.
I always tell people, I'm like, even if you have not had that experience and someone else has, and you're listening to them, that's a data point, and that's a data point you put aside. And then guess what? Someday you're going to have that experience, and you're going to go, wow, that meshes exactly with, these other sightings or reports. And and then your mind's expanded, right? So.
Stick to the facts, nothing but the facts. That's what Steenberg says. Oh, Doug, your mic's off.
Oh, there we go. Sorry.
There we are.
Dork. Thanks, Carl, for joining us. Thank you, Robbie, for everything. And with that, we will be back next week. Please subscribe. We really need it. Really appreciate it. And we will be back with a great guest next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
I call you up in the middle of the night, been bothered by dreams, ain't feeling alright. You give me comfort, say just give it some time. By the end of our talk, I'm feeling just fine.